basic gist of us is we don't like reading and we love Mean Girls and weird science. We sound like the dumbest human beings on the planet.
Well, that's fine. They're not wrong.
They're not wrong.
Not really wrong, per se.
Wow, so both players basically have 2 cards, 2 creatures, and 2 lands in play. So this is kind of what you expect mid to late game against in the mirror match here. Ayers probably a little bit ahead just because he has 2 Goists, but you can't really attack here. That's the thing. Neither player, basically, it's a stalemate. Daryl obviously hoping to draw a submerge here.
Looks like Donigan is actually up a game here, so we'll make sure we do get that corrected for you. As take a look again at that board. See, Tarmogoyfs for 4/5s. No Mongoose going to come into play here. Both players with some cards in hand, but I mean, no surprise to see both players bottlenecked on mana. That's just how this goes. Here's a Brainstorm. Ayers going to try to work his way out of it. And Ayers does have a runner-up appearance on the Open Series with this deck. Lost to actually Kurt Spies in the finals. Spies playing what he's always playing, which is lands.
Lands, yeah. Yeah, I've seen him play that deck a lot.
I know he's here. I don't know if he's playing in Modern or Legacy today. I hope to get to watch him play lands. I've actually never got to cover a match of Kurt playing lands, but he is real good at it. Here's a Delver. You have to assume that's going to flip next turn.
Yeah, wow. Daryl's got a really good hand. Multiple, looks like Tarmogoyfs in there.
Yep.
And a Lightning Bolt as well. So
Donigan does have a second Tarmogoyf here, but that Delver is going to flip. There's a Spell Snare. Obviously not going to get to counter that. As you can tell, these guys are pretty good friends. And in we go for 3. Donigan's going to go down to 5. We might be on our way to another game here because there's a Bolt over there as well. Donigan draws a card. Is he going to giddy up and attack? There are really no good attacks here. Is the problem.
Yeah, and Donigan doesn't have a counterspell.
Going to attack here yet again. Going to put Donigan down to 2. Pass the turn back. No reason to fire off the Lightning Bolt.
Yeah.
So I'm perfectly fine with that. Yeah, here we go. Let's jam them on in. There will be some blocks here in a moment. Tarmogoyfs will run into each other.
Both of them are, all the Tarmogoyfs are 4/5s right now.
Yeah, it looks like that's what the block is going to be. Ayers is going to decide here in just a moment.
Yeah, really no fear.
Yeah.
He knows this is desperation. Donigan's at 2. There's really nothing he has to worry about here.
And he looks like he's going to block like this. So 7 damage is going to come across. Ayers is going to go down to 6. Go ahead and help that towards the bin. Going to pass the turn back. Ayers is going to draw. He will attack. This is not a Lightning Bolt. We're going to play a 3rd game here between Daryl and Dylan. Rug Delver Mirror, as these guys, they always, I know they go to tournaments together and hang out, so this should be actually pretty entertaining. Who, my friend, what for you was the most fun person to play against that you would kind of do this back and forth with? Anybody? I know you're pretty serious at the table.
Probably Kai.
Really?
Yeah, just because, like, he's so ridiculous. Like, well, one, I'm a huge Kai fan, so I was very intimidated. Well, I'll give you my classic Kai story. So,
okay.
My mother likes Kai Bude way more than she likes me, and the main reason is that when I first started playing Magic, my first Pro Tour was 2001, and it was Pro Tour New Orleans, and Kai had won that Pro Tour. And I told my mom, you know, you go to this website, you can watch the coverage, and you can see how I'm doing. And she went to that website, and she saw Kai Bude did well.
Okay.
And she's like, oh, I'm like, hey, Mom, after the Pro Tour, I called her up from New Orleans. I'm like, hey, Mom, I did pretty well. I came in 16th place, you know. And she's like, oh, that's great. I saw that some German boy won. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that guy, he's like the best player in the world. He's like the Michael Jordan of Magic, you know. And she's like, oh, that's great. He seems like a real, wow, he's from Germany? I'm like, yeah, but I came in 16th place. And she's like, oh, no, I know. I'm just saying I've never met, like, a German person. Is he nice? I'm like, well, I don't really know him. And then, like, I'd keep playing in Pro Tours, and she'd keep watching commentary, and she'd keep seeing Kai do well, because he just had, like, an insane run. And she'd always ask me about Kai, you know? And she's like, oh, have you met him? And, like, I started to get to know Kai and became friends and stuff. And then a year later, at Pro Tour Venice, I won the Pro Tour. And it was like a dream of mine. It was amazing, you know? And it was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. I worked so hard to get good at Magic, and I finally won a Pro Tour. So I call my mom from Venice. It's a really expensive call, too, because I didn't have a cell phone. So, like, I call my mom from Venice. I'm calling collect. And
Collect is
my
awesome.
mom answers, and she's like, hello? I'm like, Mom, it's a sip. You're not going to believe this, but I won the Pro Tour. And she's like, how did Kai do? And I'm like, excuse me, can you hear me? Mom, I said I won the Pro Tour. She's like, oh, no, I know, but was Kai not there? And I'm like, no, I think he was there, but I won. And she's like, oh, well, how did you beat Kai? And I'm like, no, it's not how it works, Mom. I'm sure he played, he just didn't do well. I won. And she's like, oh, well, that's good. How did he finish? And I'm like, Mom, just forget it. And I just hung up. So my mother, she loves me. Don't get me wrong. She loves me.
Doesn't sound like
She's
it.
just a Kai fan.
Yep.
That's all. And I don't blame her. He's very good. So and Kai and I became friends, and we he came over to my house and tested together. But so he's fun to play against just because Germans have a very awkward sense of humor.
Their sense of humor is awesome, though.
It's awesome because it's so bad. So you laugh, but for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And like whenever Kai's trash talking you, it's so awkward, and like I just laugh all the time. So Kai's probably my favorite person to play against because we always goof around. We had a match at Pro Tour Theros that I wish was on camera. It was awesome because I was getting annihilated by him, and he was trash talking me and the awkward and the way that only a awkward German person could, you know. And it was awesome. So yeah, probably Kai Bude is my favorite person to play against.
All right, I can dig it. Trash talk. Trash talking can be fun in Magic. Obviously, when it's friendly,
when it's
stuff.
playful, you know.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
you don't want anything malicious, but like if two people know each other, like obviously Dylan and Daryl do. Like
Yeah.
I kind of like that. You feel like you're just playing at your kitchen table again.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, it's
that's
fun.
what it reminds me of because that's how I grew up playing Magic. You
Yeah,
know,
me too.
You're playing with your friends at your kitchen table, and you just come back to that. You know, nothing mean spirited. You know,
No, certainly not. You don't have to be a jerk. You
you
can
don't have to be a
fun.
jerk. You can have playful banter.
I need to meet your mom.
Oh, you love my
I've heard a lot
mom.
of stories about your mom. Your mom sounds awesome.
She's ridiculous.
Both players are going to take a look at 7. Ayers is going to keep, as will Donigan. It's time for a probe. We're going to see 2 copies of Tarmogoyf, a Bolt, a Submerge, a Stifle, a Brainstorm, and a Scalding Tarn.
This is a very risky keep for Daryl, especially when you're in the draw, because if your opponent has a Stifle, then you're basically just colded. You know, if Dylan just leads with an island, a land here, and doesn't tap anything, then he's in trouble. But fortunately for Daryl, Dylan's going to lead with the Ponder, so Daryl can crack that land and cast Brainstorm to try to find more lands.
Yeah. See if, I mean, obviously Daryl's Stifle. We saw one in his hand. He's got 4 of them. Okay, Dylan has 4 too.
Yeah, so it's one of those situations where you don't want to necessarily mulligan, but in this matchup, it's tricky because if Dylan just played Volcanic Island and passed, what does Daryl do? You know,
Can't sack.
He can't sack
No.
there. He has to wait. If he doesn't draw a land, he's in a tough spot. And this deck doesn't play that many lands. It plays basically 16 to 17 lands usually.
Yeah.
So. Fortunately for Daryl, it looks like he is going to have the path here, and he drew a Ponder too. So Ponder's actually a much better cast here than Brainstorm.
What's actually interesting too, though, is like Dylan didn't have the Stifle, but he has a Wasteland.
Yeah,
Which has 2 of them, and he also has a Daze now too. And I mean, given that I know my opponent's hand, thanks Jackson Probe.
And now you know the Ponder too was the card he drew.
Yep.
So you snap through that.
Yeah, you just immediately kill his land. Can't do it fast
He's
enough.
not even. He is not messing around.
Yeah, your card's dead.
I'm gonna put you in top deck mode on turn 2.
Yeah. Can't pass up the opportunity.
And he's got it looks like he has another copy of Wasteland in his hand as well.
Yeah.
And now Dylan, unfortunately, does not draw land. Although Daryl doesn't have a land, but I don't think Dylan has any pressure. He doesn't have the Katarmagor for anything. So Daryl's got a little room to breathe here, but not much.
Another Gitaxian Probe. Take a look at the grip. We know it's all spells. 2 Goyfs, Brainstorm, Submerge, Bolt, Stifle, and a Nimble Mongoose.
And obviously Daryl's a little mana screwed here, but again, it just shows you how powerful Gitaxian Probe can be because Daryl knew because Dylan knew exactly what was in Daryl's hand, he was able to say, okay, I'm going to daze this and wasteland you because I know what you're going to do. So I'm going to make this path. And he might have done the same thing regardless, but I just think having perfect information in this format is just so huge.
Scalding turns the draw. Will he fire it off?
Yeah, this is a tough one.
I think you're like almost in a situation now where like you can't try to play around Stifle. Especially when your opponent kept with Ponder.
Well,
like they may have found lands now.
It's tough to say because Dylan doesn't really have any pressure. It's not like he's doing anything, you know?
Yeah. And once the Tarmogoyf gets played.
Once the Tarmogoyf gets played, it changes everything.
Yeah.
But Dylan has just one more land than you and no threats.
Yep.
So, and you have 7 cards in your hand too. So it's not like you're under that much pressure to just start cracking. And you don't. If you do get stifled, the odds of you winning are very slim. So I think you're fine to decide to just pass here, especially because you have a bolt in your hand. So and that brainstorm, you can do it at the end of Dylan's turn. But it looks like he's going to go for it here.
Yeah, Daryl kind of resigned to his fate. Just says, well, I hope you don't have a stifle. And we are clear for takeoff. So we'll see if it'll be a volcanic or a trop. And it looks like it's going to be a trop.
Yeah, but now you expose yourself to Wasteland too. Like, I'm just not sure what Daryl's plan is. Like, what does he want to do this turn? Do you think casting Nimble Mongoose is good enough here?
I mean, we know.
Yeah,
but
like,
I'm also working, with great information too. So
yeah, like I'm just not sure what Daryl's plan is. I mean, I can understand if you think you don't want him to draw a stifle, but why don't you just do it on Dylan's upkeep then? So we'll see what Daryl decides to do here. I'd imagine he has to cast Brainstorm to try to hit more lands. And again, if you're going to do this, I'd rather do it on Dylan's turn in case he has Spell Pierce or something.
Yeah.
Make him use the mana on his turn. Still has the option to pass here.
yeah, I think you have to cast this.
Yeah, I think you have to cast Brainstorm too. If you're going to cast Brainstorm, you might as well do it on Dylan's upkeep.
Yeah.
Make him tap
Okay,
his
sure.
mana.
I think you have to cast a spell. I mean, you can tell he's a little unsure of himself on what he should do. Yeah, he's just gonna pass the turn now.
Yeah, so now you can see Daryl probably didn't think that turn out all the way. It's like not quite sure if you're not gonna cast a spell, why sack right away?
Yep.
Why not do it on Dylan's upkeep? So the sequencing was a little strange, but I agree that he probably shouldn't cast anything. If he's gonna cast a spell, it's a Brainstorm, and if you're gonna do it, you don't do it on your turn.
Yeah.
I probably would have done it on Dylan's upkeep, but either way, I think Dylan's going to kind of force the issue by casting a Tarmogoyf and activating Wasteland.
Yeah.
If I'm Dylan, I'd probably lead with Wasteland just in case there's a stifle.
Wait, no, he knows there's a stifle.
Oh, he knows there's a stifle.
That's why I like this.
Oh, so he can actually search for. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
and he has the Daze in his hand as well.
Yeah, he cracks a fetch land to induce the stifle now.
Yeah.
So I actually like this a lot. Yeah, so he's going to stifle this. This is going to be float a blue, cast a Daze, pick up the land. So now he gets to search for a land. I think he's going to go grab a trop now.
Yeah, so he can play the Tarmogoyf, and he hasn't played a land yet this turn, so Wasteland can come down.
Correct.
And take out Daryl's Tropical Island.
Yeah, he's going to, Wasteland this.
And
Wasteland so he can't
correctly,
be dazed.
yeah.
Yep.
No, correctly sequences, not only can it not be dazed, but it can't be submerged either.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he doesn't have an island
Yeah,
to play.
that's true.
So very good sequencing there for Dylan. Daryl fails to draw a land.
And Dylan just drew a stifle. Stifle actually might be the check mark. Because it's more likely that Daryl draws a fetch land than an actual land, and there's a second Tarmogoyf. There's Red Elemental Blast. I think this one's over now.
Yeah, there's really nothing Daryl can do to come back from that. You can't actually kill a Tarmogoyf with this deck.
Yeah, yeah, there's a Delver. Pass the turn back. Daryl's going to draw a card. It's a Lightning Bolt. There's an extension of the hand. Dylan Donigan's going to win this match over Daryl Ayers. You can tell just by looking at Daryl, he's not in love with how he played that turn with the fetch land.
Well, it just seemed like he was a little disoriented, like he wasn't quite sure what to do. It almost was like he was resigned to the land getting stifled, and when it didn't get stifled, he was so surprised he didn't know what to do.
Yeah, he was just like, I expected this to get stifled given you have so many cards in your hand, you haven't done anything.
Yeah.
And then once it did resolve, it's like, well, I have to reevaluate everything now. And it's like, do you want to play in the Mongoose? Do you want to leave Stifle up? Do you want to cast Brainstorm? If you want to cast Brainstorm, when do you want to do it?
Yeah.